So as I mentioned to you guys about almost a week ago, I wasn't going to be able to actually talk about the Oscars until a little bit after they happened because I was going to be swamped with work. And today I wasn't swamped with work, so I can actually talk about everything. So the way that I'm going to tackle this is I'll quickly show you guys the list of what the nominees were. Then I'll talk about what I chose to be the winner, and then we'll see if I won in that category. And then I'll talk a little bit after each category, just giving my thoughts, and then I'll have a couple of other things to talk about after we're done. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into it. So, first I did Best Makeup and Hair Design. Here's the list right here, 3, 2, 1. And if you're confused as to why I do that, it's just, just to make sure that you guys have enough time, and also just to know if... Actually, that's not enough time. Anyway, no. I'll just count 3, 2, 1, and then I'll remove it, and then we'll start at that point. That way, if you guys need a little bit of time, you can pause the video. Anyway, now I'm rambling. So, what I picked to win was Bombshell, and what actually won was Bombshell. So I'm of course happy with this. I guessed it, and it was the obvious answer. I still haven't seen the film, which I'm still sad about, but I mean, come on. The work that they did on both Theron and Kidman in making them look like both Gretchen Carlson and Megyn Kelly was amazing. Just looking at the first trailer, you could tell this was going to be something special. After that was the Best Costume Design. There's the nominees, 3, 2, 1. What I picked was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but what actually won was Little Women. I am completely fine with this. Now, if I remember correctly, the logic behind choosing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as the winner, on my part, was due to the idea that Hollywood loves to give props to movies that showcase Hollywood in a more positive light, and I didn't keep that same logic probably for other categories, which you'll see that I should have when we talk about the next category. The Best Production Design. Nominees, 3, 2, 1. What I picked for the win would be Parasite. What I didn't consider was what actually won, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. As I said, I should have expected this one with the logic of the last one, but I forgot about the logic that I made for myself as quickly as I came up with it, it seems, for that category. But really, when you think about it, they transformed many different blocks of Hollywood into that 60s aesthetic and used a lot less CGI than I originally thought. So I will give them props for that. That was pretty good. And for the next two categories, I combined them in the last video, but I'm not going to this time. I'll just quickly go over each one. But anyway, Best Sound Editing, 3, 2, 1. What I said will win was 1917. What really won was Ford v Ferrari. Not one that surprises me, but then again, a lot doesn't surprise me with sound, since that's not one of my fortes, but I legitimately thought that the war film was going to win both, especially when you look at, not last year, the year before, when Baby Driver came onto the scene, where everybody thought it was going to be nominated for, or no, not nominated, they thought it was going to win for both sound categories and film editing. And it won none of them. They lost all to Dunkirk. So I kind of went in with that same mindset, and I kind of fucked myself a little bit with that. For Best Sound Mixing, 3, 2, 1. What I said would win was 1917. It did in fact win. Of course, I'm happy that I at least got that one right. And because it's a sound category, I got nothing else on that front. So next for Film Editing, 3, 2, 1. What I said would win was Parasite, but what actually won was Ford v Ferrari. I'll be honest, even with how long I've been editing my own videos, I'm still not that great at guessing what has great editing or bad editing. Honestly, I go in, I edit where I need to, and I just assume that it's, good to go. But there's probably people who've watched my videos and thought, wow, this is shoddy craftsmanship right there. And you could be right, I have no idea. But I usually can't tell what's good or bad editing unless it's extremely apparent. But if anyone would be good at this category, it'd be Mallory. She's one of those people who is very observant to the point where if strands of hair change placement from one shot to the next, or something less noticeable than that, she'll notice it. Honestly, yeah, I'm bad at coming up with examples for that observation power of hers, so I'm just gonna leave it there. For Best Cinematography, 3, 2, 1, what I said would win was 1917, and 1917 won. I know that there was a chance that Deakins wouldn't win this year since he had just won 2 years ago for Blade Runner 2049, but even though I had made this prediction before actually seeing the movie, I was more sure of my choice when I finally did see 1917 the day before the Oscars, and there was no doubt in my mind that he should win the Oscar. But now instead of 0 out of 13 or 1 out of 14, now he has 2 Oscar wins out of 15, and that makes me happy that he has another Oscar on his mantle after not receiving one for decades of nominations. And yeah, honestly, this is a well-deserved win, and yep, I'm just happy. For Best Visual Effects, 3, 2, 1, I said what would win would be The Lion King. What won was 1917. I had guessed every single nominee correctly, as per usual, because it was one of the only things that I got 100% right, and it's the most important to me because I am a primarily visual guy, and visual effects are something that I can easily break down, and it feels slightly more objective as far as the categories compared to the rest of the film. Now, the subjectiveness is still in if it's good or bad, but I can kind of spin it in a way. But anyway, I don't know, that's where I get the most excitement when it comes to the movies, is whether it's practical effects or CGI effects. I love it all, and I really thought I had the winner down, but then again, I also did the same thing I had the same reason last year, and I lost for that one too. For the exact same reason, I didn't learn shit from it. I picked the most impressive visual effects heavy movie 2 years in a row, and 2 years in a row I lost to the film that had the least noticeable CGI, which honestly kind of does make sense. The best visual effects are subjectively the ones you don't know are effects, are fake. But still, I really thought that The Lion King would win because there are so many people out there, maybe in the film industry itself even, who still think that it's a live-action film, and they don't realize that everything was created out of CGI. The only thing in that movie that was real was the sunrise in the first shot. That was it. Everything else was computer-generated. But I don't know. But then again, Disney's trying to play it off as though it's live action and it's not some kind of specialized animated film, because it is, and hearing them say that is the stupidest shit I've ever heard. For the best original song, 3, 2, 1, I said that the Rocket Man song was gonna win, and the Rocket Man song did. There was no doubt that it was going to win. I can't really give any reasons other than it was just my favorite song of the nominees, and I'm still singing my ass off to it on the regular. And that song came out in like March. But I swear, if they add this song to my normal karaoke hangout, I'm gonna freak. For the best original score, 3, 2, 1. What I said was gonna win was Joker, and Joker won. It was another obvious one to most of us. And really, personally, I don't have anything really to add. I don't know. I don't really have anything for that. I'm sorry. But anyway, sorry about that. Going ahead and moving on. For Best Animated Feature, 3, 2, 1, I said that Klaus was going to win, but what won was Toy Story 4. That was the original pick that I had before I made my final predictions, which I changed only because of how many awards Klaus was winning. But honestly, I should have expected this because it's the easy answer, and it's probably the only one on the list that every single person in the Academy has seen, or at least the majority, but you know what, it's whatever. For Best Adapted Screenplay, 3, 2, 1, I said that Little Women would win. It in fact did not. It lost to Jojo Rabbit. Really did think Little Women was going to get this one. Not just because it was, in my opinion, the better of the 4 screenplays that I experienced on this list, as well as the fact that this would be Greta Gerwig's only chance of getting an Oscar this year, and I honestly thought that they would kind of pander a little bit in order to give her the Oscar so it'd shut up people. But honestly, I still like this win. Plus, Waititi gets an Oscar on his mantle. What's so bad about that? Yeah, that's pretty much it. But on to Best Original Screenplay. 3, 2, 1. I said what would win was Parasite. I just had a really good feeling about this, and Parasite won. Because of course it won. And with the way the night went, I was very happy for Bong Joon-ho. Especially because each time he got up, he was just really adorable and awkward and just full of wonder, which would make later categories amazing. And for Best Foreign Film,
Parasite.
For Best Supporting Actress, 3, 2, 1, I said Laura Dern would win. Laura Dern did win. Well deserved, and I'm glad that she finally has an Oscar on her mantle. But as you'll see with the other acting categories, it was sadly predictable. And that goes on to Best Supporting Actor. 3, 2, 1. Said that Brad Pitt would win for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He won for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Once again, well-deserved, sadly predictable. But it's great that he finally has an acting Oscar. Best Actress, 3, 2, 1. I said that Renee Zellweger would win for Judy. She won for Judy. Third verse, same as the first, not including the stuff about having a first Oscar, because she's already won an Oscar before for Best Supporting Actress, if I remember correctly. I don't remember what movie it was off the top of my head. But anyway, moving on to Best Actor, 3, 2, 1. We all knew that Joaquin Phoenix was going to win, and he won. I did mention the upset earlier, but I'll get to that in a second. Fourth verse, same as the first, and don't take my slightly unexcited tone seriously. I'm extremely happy for the win without a doubt. I'm just done with how predictable things were. It didn't feel like there was really any true competition this year. Even though I thought that Adam Driver was the closest to competition on the performance front, he sadly wasn't near Phoenix when it came to pure Oscar buzz. On to Best Director, 3, 2, 1. So I know a lot of people had picked Sam Mendes for 1917. I had actually predicted an upset. An upset happened. I chose Quentin Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That wasn't the upset. The upset was Bong Joon-ho, which even though I predicted Parasite in another category, I didn't think that he was going to actually win for Best Director. And honestly, this was super unexpected for me, and I loved it. I seriously thought that they would pander to, I thought they would pander in the long run to Quentin Tarantino since his film was about old Hollywood, and because he hasn't gotten a directing Oscar yet. But Joon-ho getting called up, and he either didn't notice because he wasn't expecting it, or he was just in shock, or both. It was wonderful to see, and every single time he was called up, as I mentioned earlier, was wonderful. I loved seeing him, and his speech for this award was the best, for mentioning that he thought that he would be sitting down for the rest of the night, to thanking both Scorsese for being an inspiration to him growing up, and also to Tarantino, thanking him for putting many of his films on his famous top 10 lists that he makes every year. That he was one of the main reasons why people started to know his name outside of Korea and more in America. I thought that part was amazing. I didn't even know that was a thing. But it was amazing to think that someone like me, an abashed film fan, because you can tell from the way that he reacted and talked the entire night that he's a film fan, but it was just amazing to think someone like me was up there, and he was just so grateful for everything. And I know many go up there and feel the same way. They're all grateful. I'm not saying that anybody isn't, but the way that it was conveyed each time with him, it felt so genuine that it was moving. It brought me to tears for a while. And finally, for Best Picture, 3, 2, 1. I said in the, the second part of the nominations discussion that I thought that maybe, I'm trying to remember. If I remember, my picks to what will win were either 1917 and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You guys can go back and check if you want. I feel like that's accurate, but I remembered that what I said should win was either Parasite or Joker, for the main reason that they're both something that should be kept in the public mind and discussed, the themes and messages that the films tackle. And when I went to my final predictions video, I picked Parasite for the winner, and it won. I just had a feeling, and it worked. I mean, what... And on top of that, what can I say that hasn't already been said about this historic and landmark win? I don't think there is anything. Just know that I am very happy with this choice, especially after being able to watch it a second time while in the country of origin and loving it even more than I did when I first saw it in the States. And don't worry, I will be coming out with a Parasite review, hopefully very soon, as well as reviews for the other Best Picture nominees that I haven't been able to make videos yet for. I think it's like five or six of them I haven't been able to do just yet. Let me think what else. Oh, also, I have to say, I thought I did worse as far as my tallying up of scores. I thought I did worse than last year as far as how many I'd get wrong, but I surprisingly did better. Last year I got 11 wrong. This year I got 8 wrong, so progress. Yes! But on to my thoughts about the ceremony itself, because this, I feel, is just as important to talk about as it is for talking about the winners and the categories. And also keep in mind that my views on award shows has changed very slightly recently after seeing this video from Collider. Now, I'm not as blunt about it as she is, and I will still enjoy award shows for what they represent, or at least what I'd like to think that they represent. But at the same time, I can't listen to what she said and say that I don't agree with her to a big extent, especially when she brings up the fact that film is subjective, and that's something that I've been preaching on this channel for a long time. But anyway, for the points of the show, the ceremony itself, I thought that the musical numbers were good for the most part, especially the version of Yesterday by the Beatles that was done by Billie Eilish and her brother. That was wonderful and tear-jerking. I know a lot of people thought that she was going to premiere her No Time to Die theme that night, which I thought was stupid. I would have been really excited. I mean, there was a part of me that hoped that it would happen, but at the same time I didn't, because I would thought, no, that's not the right time to do it. Next year's a good time when it gets nominated for an Oscar, because it probably will. I enjoyed the song immensely. But anyway, that's a separate thing. But that was wonderful and tear-jerking, their rendition of Yesterday with the In Memoriam. Though I had 2 specific issues in general when it came to the musical performances. First part, the opening song, despite having a great singer in Janelle Monáe performing it, and I love Janelle Monáe, I didn't care for the song itself once it went away from the Mr. Rogers theme. That part was kind of adorable, but I don't know, the rest of the song, it just felt mediocre, and also I hated the part where she was having the audience sing along to her vocalizations. That can work in a concert or something else like that, but it didn't help that any time that you do that kind of thing in this kind of crowd where they're just there for an award show, it starts off soft and awkward because you know that they aren't there for a Tony Awards level kind of opening. And for the second part, and this is a small one, but I couldn't get into the unknown section where Idina Menzel is singing with all the other Elsas from different countries. I mean, that part was cool, and most of the sorry. Sorry. Most of the rendition was good, but actually no, I enjoyed it for the most part. But then as it got closer to the end, the singing and the orchestrations weren't working in sync. It was like when you go to a choir recital and you have that one kid who's doing a solo performance. And I'm not talking about like there's the choir and they have a solo part. I'm talking about it's just their song, the entire thing, just a solo performance, and the backing music was put on a CD for them to sing along to, and the kid practiced so much, and they were getting really good, but for some reason, that night, the big night, they start improvising with what they are doing themselves while singing, and while they may be doing good as far as the singing goes and the performance, if they didn't practice it that way the big night before, it's probably not going to go well because it's not going to go along with the music. And, and you could tell that in this performance that many of these women were musical theater performers, and that's a completely different wheelhouse of talent. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm an expert in musical theater, but from my understanding, as somebody who has performed musically before, again, my understanding, I could be completely wrong. If I am wrong, please tell me in the comments, but just let me rant about this. So, from my understanding, in a normal musical theater play, with an orchestra playing the music, you put the characters' emotions and the story, as well as the singing, before the actual musical arrangement. The emotions of the scene and the singing are not supposed to follow the orchestra. The orchestra is supposed to follow the lead of the other things, and it can lead to a difference in how different casts and performers differentiate themselves from those who came before and those who will come long after them. But these women were working with an orchestra that probably wasn't expecting a more free-flow performance, and it led to some clashing sounds, and for me it was an earache. Again, probably something that should have been worked out better during the rehearsals, if there were any, or, you know, there was probably at least one. And then as a last-minute thing, and keep in mind, I do like being able to see the original songs performed live. But here's a potentially unpopular opinion, one that I know some people on the platform of YouTube, including one of the bigger ones is John Campea. He said this for years. I didn't hear him until recently, but I wholeheartedly agree with him. And this is probably a potentially unpopular opinion. If they want to shorten the runtime for the show, just take out the original song performances. You're spending 10 to 20 plus minutes on a category that is, and this is my subjective opinion, less important than the Best Director category, which barely gets maybe 3 minutes. Just, I don't know, find a way to do a medley of the songs, or just don't do the performances altogether. As the second year of not having a host, I figured that maybe because last year was seen by most people to be at least a minor success as far as structuring a show without a host, I just thought, okay, this actually did kind of work. Or at least in theory it did, and I thought that the execution was at least decent. I thought that maybe maybe they'd be able to learn from what worked and what didn't from last year and just improve on it. And I do think that maybe there were some minor things that they improved, but really, this show really stressed how important having a host is. I know that they weren't trying to do that, but just in the execution, yeah, we need a host back. They would just bring out random people, seemingly the B-list actors, to present the more well-known or A-list talent, so that those people could present the categories. Now, I'm not saying that the people chosen are, you know, there to... what is it? I'm not saying that the people chosen to present the presenters... I actually kind of like that. You know what? Present the presenters. Actually, I'm going to make that the name of this thing. I know it already says... it probably already says it in the editing, but fuck it, whatever. This is like a new idea. This is a new concept. But anyway, I'm not saying that they're lesser talented or aren't talented at all. I'm just saying that when you compare a lesser-known name like Kelly Marie Tran, who is known, but mostly for one role that she sadly had to suffer because of, if you compare a Kelly Marie Tran to a name like Diane Keaton or Keanu Reeves, who she did end up presenting so that they could present, I think it was the original screenplay category, if I remember correctly. But when you compare Kelly Marie Tran to a Keanu Reeves or a Diane Keaton, it's no fucking contest. But these people were just there to say, "Hi, my name is this, now here's this person." And I got what they were trying to do, but I don't think it worked. I think we need hosts again. Other than those two big picture things, I don't really have much more. I mean, this year didn't really feel very inspired with a lot of things, and even though I understand why everything was nominated in whatever categories they were nominated for, and for the most part I agreed with everything, I didn't feel any excitement for it, really, before or after, and I wasn't able to watch the Oscars when they happened. I was working, and sadly, where I'm currently living, you couldn't possibly stay ignorant to the first South Korean film accepted into the Academy Awards, winning not only Best International Feature, but also Best Screenplay, Best Director, and being the first ever non-English speaking film to win Best Picture. You can't stay away from that news when you're in fucking South Korea. But everything else I learned the next day when I watched the show on Hulu, and I wasn't even excited then. The Oscars are really losing their exciting quality for me, and I've enjoyed the Oscars ever since it was 2010 was when I remember first watching it. I think it was the first year that they started doing more than 5 Best Picture nominees, which was kind of exciting. I didn't realize it at the time, but now looking back when I understand, it was really exciting. And I don't know, now I watch the Oscars and hope that it'll actually get better, and also because of an obligation on my part to talk about what I love most, the film and the film industry. But now we're at the point, another award season is over, and another year to go through for film, until the next one, and here's hoping that the next one will be a good one. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to hit that like button, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And as always, farewell until the next video, all of you casual moviegoers and movie fans alike, and keep on being awesome.